Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick us off, and then we'll jump right into it. So, thank you all. And if right here. So again, as I share my screen, went over our agenda for the night. So we're going to go ahead and get started into our March membership announcements, which this is always a great place to start the night off. We can recognize all the new folks that's been joining us here at IJ Action and being a part of the organizing work that we're doing in this space. So we'll start off by welcoming David M., Shaquille S., Madeline B., Kari A., Danae J., Gina H., Michelle T., Rena C., Marcia R., Janaea A., Heather O., Melinda N., LaFonda F., and Zanita H. Those are all new members who joined this past month and were welcomed in and of course invited to the flock by some of you all in the audience. So I want to just take a second to recognize those folks. Also, we want to recognize the two members who completed it orientation this past month, and that's Denise J. and Raina C. So I want to take a second to just recognize those folks. And also, it's a perfect time to speak about membership, our membership structure here at IJ Action, and a little bit about why membership is important. So, you know, that's one of our biggest months so far as new folks coming in, and we want to keep up that momentum. We also want to ensure that folks who are here tonight, if you aren't a member, we want to be sure to let you all know that we have two forms of membership here at IJ Action. The first form is supportive member, which supportive members are folks who've who's paid annual member dues and participate in groups and committees whenever possible. The other form of membership, obviously, is active membership. And active members are folks who completed the membership application, paid annual dues, completed new member orientation, commit to attending monthly general meetings, sign up for at least one committee, and they sign the membership pledge. So, of course, folks who are most involved choose active membership. Other folks choose supportive membership, which we understand everyone has different capacities. So we want to take time to just point out to the different ways in which you can get involved in the work that's going on here at IJ and the organizing efforts. And so also while I'm speaking, I guess I'll just move into the March committee updates. And with that, we'll start with the Membership and Outreach Committee, which is chaired by myself. And after that, I'll kick it over to one of my colleagues. Let me see, I'm sorry, I was still admitting folks. So the Membership and Outreach Committee is responsible for community organizing, outreach, training, and recruiting. And our updates for this past month is that the Membership and Outreach Committee has been working on recruiting. We're currently running our Recruit 5 campaign, in which all members are actively trying to recruit at least 5 friends and family or exceptional people into the organization. So we have a week left with that. Also, we have some brainstorms coming up for in-person recruiting event. And if folks want to be involved in that, you can always let me know by sending an email to me, J@IJ Action, or make sure you select on the interest form, and I'll be sure to get back with you. And also just keep folks updated on how they can get involved in the different things that we're doing at the committee. We got a lot of exciting things coming up this week. And our next meeting will be April 18th from 6:30 to 7:30, the same slot, over Zoom. And with that, I'll pass it over to my colleague Emiliano to give the next update.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, a little distracted over here. My power just came back on. But yeah, so last week, our committee, the Communications and Fundraising Committee, met. We were a small group, but we will be meeting again April 6th at 6:30. So that group meets once a month, the first Thursday of the month at 6:30. So we hope you tap in, and we hope we have a better turnout this next month. And I'll pass it over to you, Jay. Did you want to add anything, Shervin?
You're muted, sure.
I just want to share as part of the committee, similar to the membership and outreach committee, we also have a Recruit 5 campaign where we're encouraging our members to reach out to 5 colleagues, friends, family members to also become grassroots donors to IJ Action.
Yes, I'm sorry. And also too, while we're still on committee updates, I made a mistake in the slide deck. The actual next membership and outreach committee is March 21st, which is this Tuesday coming up, same time slot from 6:30 to 7:30. So
What's that?
if I said something else in the slide, my fault. But yeah, so with that, we'll go ahead and at this time, let everybody know. Again, our membership is open. We're grateful for folks who are recommending folks, who are nominating folks, also who are just spreading the word about what we're doing. And it's a great time to move into how that power building, how that organizing, and how power in numbers can be used as an effective tactic to be a part of co-governance. And co-governance, please remember to mute. And also co-governance models, here. And so with that, I'll go ahead and pass it to Shervin and Taina to give us some updates on what those different models could look like, how working with legislators work out, as well as holding folks accountable to what we believe are the best courses for the people.
Thanks, Jay. Do you mind pulling up the slides as well? Thank you so much. So, starting off, one important component of our advocacy work is being on the record, either opposing or supporting import legislation at the state level. There's been a ton of bills that are moving through the Senate and Assembly Public Safety Committee. And so far, we've been on the record supporting 3 important pieces of legislation. One is from Miguel Santiago, AB 958. It expands visitation within prison settings and removes a lot of the barriers for family members, friends, and colleagues to be able to visit their loved ones while in prison. The second one from Assemblymember Ting, AB 600, streamlines the resentencing process, specifically for folks who, through the various bills that have been passed over the past. Sorry for some reason, I'm back on mute. Bills like the Racial Justice Act and others that have been retroactive in allowing folks to be able to petition for resentencing. This makes the process much easier and also helps folks be able to dismiss their cases as well. So an important bill that we are on the record supporting. And then the final one from Senator Bradford, SB 50. This one was in response to the murder of Keenan Anderson here in LA by LAPD at a traffic stop. And this one would authorize in state law and give permission to local governments to remove police from traffic stops. So an important piece of legislation. Unfortunately, the state cannot force local governments to remove cops from traffic responses, but right now it is baked into state law that police are part of a pretextual stop or a traffic stop. This would remove that requirement and ease a lot of the efforts at the local level to abolish police responses to a traffic incident. I should also mention this one's not submitted yet, but this week we'll also be submitting support to SB 513 from Senator Wiener. This one would expand mental health and addiction services for folks on the inside as well. But that one's not submitted yet, so that's why it's not reflected here in the slide. And then going on to our opposition letters, AB 367 was a enhancements bill introduced by Assemblymember Mindshine that would further dig down on the failed war on drugs. This was supposed to be heard in the Assembly Public Safety Committee a couple weeks ago, but it was actually pulled, which was great news. But IJ Action did submit an opposition letter in advance of when it was supposed to be on the committee calendar. Moving to the next one, AB 257, for folks who are IJ Action members who are from LA, who are familiar with which is an anti-cannabis measure that bans poverty, basically, by daycare centers, schools, and parks. This bill would have expanded and enacted that measure at the state level. So we are on the record opposing AB 257 as well. And then last but not least, AB 329 from Assemblymember Top would have repealed a component of Prop 47, specifically for non-California residents. So we submitted an opposition letter to this one today, the other day, excuse me, as well. And I'll turn it over to Taina in case you had anything about the
Yeah, thanks, Shervin, and apologies in advance if there's any background noise. I'm at the airport zooming in from LAX, but I did want to maybe just like back up a little bit and offer a little bit of context. So if you were at our previous general meetings, then you heard us talk all about ACA 4, which is an Assembly constitutional amendment that we are actually co-sponsoring that will place an initiative on the November 2024 ballot to restore voting rights for people in prison. So that's a bill that we're co-sponsoring, meaning that we are like 100% involved, working with other nonprofit organizations and in close relationship with the author from beginning to end to move the bill through. However, there are other bills in the legislature that even if we're not co-sponsoring, we do want to support them. And one way that we can show support is by sending in position letters. So we just wanted to share with folks that in addition to legislation that we're co-sponsoring, we are also part of many organizations that are submitting support and opposition letters for legislation that's moving through the process for good or bad. So we're still very early in the legislative process. The deadline to introduce bills was February 17th. Bills are just now starting to get heard in committee, and they'll be heard in committees like over the next couple of months. So as bills start to get committee hearings, we'll continue to send in more support letters for good bills, send in more opposition letters for bad bills, and participate in the process that way. So just wanted to offer a little bit of the context in the terms of like timeline and where we are and, you know, why we submit position letters. It just is a way to have your voice heard in the process, or a way to co-govern, which is the framework that we're using. So one way, you know, that you can, and when we say co-govern, we mean engaging with the legislature, like letting our state assembly members and our state senators know that we are the ones who vote for them, that they represent us. And once they make it to the legislature, they still have to engage with us. And there's different ways that they can do that. One way is by receiving our letters on positions on bills, and another way is by actually having meetings with us. And that's something that we're going to talk about now. A big priority of IJ Action has been to actually start having legislative visits with candidates who we endorse. Some of y'all may remember that last year, for the first time, we actually endorsed candidates, which was a really big deal for an abolitionist organization that is made up of people who are directly impacted by incarceration, sending candidates questionnaires and making them answer questions about their positions on reducing the prison population and restoring rights to people who are impacted. Our endorsed candidates had to participate in interviews with our staff, board members, and a lot of our members. So a lot of you all here were actually part of our endorsement interview process. So if you're not a member yet, that is something that you can participate in, is that if you want to be a part of our endorsement interview process and vote on which candidates we endorse, you can become an IJ Action member and join that process. So myself, Shervin, Emiliano, Jay, and our guest Vanessa Hockley, Jay's partner, we're gonna just have like a little informal conversation about some of the legislative visits that we've had so far. And so far we have prioritized having visits with the candidates who we endorsed. Not sure where the screen went, but we prioritized having visits with the candidates who we endorsed so far, which include Senator Caroline Menjivar, Assemblymember Ashkara, Assemblymember Mia Bonta, but we also prioritized having meetings with legislators who we're constituents of. So Shervin and I, we both live in the same Assembly and Senate district. So we had meetings with Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel and Senator Henry Stern. Emiliano had a meeting with Assemblymember Miguel Santiago. Jay and Vanessa had meetings with Assemblymember Baines, and then Shervin and I also had meetings with candidates we endorsed or work in close partnership with, including Pilar Chiavo. So yeah, we're just gonna have a little conversation about like how these meetings have gone, our goals around these meetings, answer any questions that you all may have. But if you want like some real detailed information in terms of like, how do I set up a meeting? What do we do in a meeting? Like what makes me an effective advocate in a meeting? This is going to be a plug for our member training that is happening this Thursday evening from 6:30 to 8 p.m., which is on co-governance and how to set up and how to conduct meetings with legislators. And we're going to be joined by legislative staff. So staffers from Senator Smallwood Cuevas' office and Senator Caroline Menjivar are going to join us on Thursday evening. So if you're not a member yet, become a member so you can get the invite to the training. But if you are a member, come to the training, come through. Hope to see y'all on Thursday. So that being said, I've been talking a lot. So I think maybe Shervin, I'll pass it back to you, and then maybe we can just kind of like popcorn talking through some of the meetings that we've had so far.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. You know, I'll share that obviously all of these meetings have centered around, you know, sharing IJ Action as an organization, what we're fighting for, what we're all about, and of course, speaking specifically about ACA4. And thankfully, the majority of the meetings we've had so far have been very receptive to ACA4, either being co-authors themselves or indicating that they will vote in favor when the time comes. You know, several of the staffers we met with are system impacted themselves and have shared that with us at the beginning of the meetings. A lot of the staff have previous work experience working in carceral settings, either in mental health, addiction treatment, on the advocacy side. And so it's been really positive seeing a lot of staffers really get it. And being very clear that they're going to reach out to their member, if the member wasn't part of the meeting already, to talk about why ACA4 is important and to be proactive with us in sharing any concerns they may have if they come down the pike. And so that really speaks to the importance of co-governance, where we are there as a resource to the members, letting them know that if they have questions about public safety bills they're working on, or if they have various CJ reform measures they've introduced, or they want feedback on, or they want support letters on, that we are there to be a resource. And so that really speaks to you know, building those relationships with the members and with the staff. And you know, it's been positive so far, at least in the meetings that Tyne and I participated in. And we've had a couple that have been a little bit more of a struggle, if you will, but overall definitely been a very positive experience.
Yeah, I could chime in. I met with Assemblymember Santiago in early February. I usually check in with with the assembly member because his office is literally like around the corner from my place. And I initially met him at an event where I just pulled over and he was giving out turkeys for Thanksgiving. And from there, like, that's how that relationship started. I let him know that I was working on some projects that were my own personal projects, and how the legislator can support me in those, in that way. But this time when I met him, we spoke about ACA 4, and I asked him what bills he was working on this year, and he didn't have a bill package yet, but he did assure me that he has a good relationship with Isaac Bryan, and that he voted yes for Prop 17, so he would be voting for ACA 4. And this is just a practice that I have, that, you know, every year I like to make sure that I check in with the assembly member, especially when stuff is going wrong and I need a field rep to assist me in personal matters. But that's pretty much like my check-in with my assembly member, and I'll pass it on to Vanessa.
Oh, yes. Hi. So this was one of my very first meetings I've ever had with an assembly member, and it was very I was very appreciative to be a part of it, and I learned a lot. Speaking with Jasmeet, we learned a few things. I myself learned a lot of things about myself, some things that were said. Jay was very professional, and I was just trying to just follow along and understand and just kind of absorb a lot of information. And Jasmine, she was talking a lot about some bills, and we talked about ACA 4, and she kind of mentioned, well, she didn't kind of, she basically told us about some of the bills that she supports, and a lot of them had to do with, like, I think it was AB 33. Yeah, let me look at my notes. To be honest, it was more so about kind of combating the opioid crisis and enforcing, kind of supporting law enforcement. She brought a lot of things about her past and stuff, and I was just like understanding more and more about what being an abolitionist, and some of the words that were being said, how I could just kind of see that line of people that really didn't understand what I truly stood for. So, I mean, more so, I guess Jay can explain more, but I just want to say that it was a really huge eye opener for me.
Yeah, it was a great example of why we do the work that we do with our voter guide, and basically reinforce that knowledge, and shows why it's so important for us to be in those spaces, to gain this knowledge and to be able to pass it on to other folks like us. That way we can delve deep into our elected officials' backgrounds and see past their designation on their ballot, because a person can say that they're, a progressive, and really their voting history shows that they're very conservative, or someone who abstains when it comes to the tough choices. So it's just a great experience to be able to sit down with elected officials, be able to talk to them, be able to express what we think is the best options for community safety, as well as be able to, hold them to account and have those tough conversations. So great experience with that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jay and Vanessa, for offering your input there. If you don't mind me putting y'all on blast a little bit, because I know, Jay, you also told me about how the meeting went. This was probably an example of a meeting where they asked Assemblymember Baines to support ACA 4, and there was some pushback with her, and she was like, I don't think that I can. So, we're not sure if we are going to be able to get the support with that assembly member. However, I do want to uplift that the fact that Jay and Vanessa, who are two constituents, who actually set up the meeting, because similar to the story that Emiliano shared, they ran into her at an event where Jay was actually getting an award, a social justice award. So the assembly member recognized that Jay and Vanessa are influential people in the district and arranged to have an in-person meeting scheduled with them. So even if ultimately we don't end up getting her yes vote on ACA 4, it's incredibly important that these elected officials know that people who care about prison abolition, who care about restoring rights for people impacted by incarceration, live in their districts. It's very meaningful if you show up as an individual. However, if you also show up as a member of an organization such as IJ Action, so this is a place where you can get, that experience. But really any organization, it's also like more influential. So I wanted to name that as well, that sometimes the meetings don't necessarily go the way that you want them to, but you continue to build that relationship. So even if you don't get this yes vote, maybe next time you get their yes vote, or you get them to introduce a bill that you want them to work on. So, building and maintaining that relationship is absolutely key. To that end, I'll share a little bit about some of the experiences that I had for the legislative visits I participated in. Myself, I participated in the one with Senator Menivar, Senator Stern, Assemblymember Kalra, Bonta, Gabriel, and Schiavo. So I was in most of the meetings here that we've had so far. And overall, it was a very positive experience. While we did focus on getting their support for ACA 4, for the senators, the bill's not going to make it to the Senate for several months, maybe even a year or longer. So, we weren't necessarily focusing on that. We were just saying like, hey, this bill is coming to you eventually. This is the premise, like this is the policy that we're proposing. Do you have any questions? Do you have any concerns? To give folks the opportunity to share any questions or concerns that they may have with us early on, so that we can work with them moving through the process. If possible, we can address those concerns, so ultimately we can get their yes vote. Similar with Assembly members Schiavo, Gabriel, they are not co-authors of the legislation, and it probably won't come to them for a while either. Neither one of them are on any of the committees that it's going to. They won't see it till it goes to the floor. But again, we were just like, hey, FYI, this is on your radar. For Assemblymember Gabriel in particular, as I said, Shervin and I are constituents. We were like, hey, we live in your district. We care about this issue. But not only that, Shervin has been doing a kick-ass job of reaching out to all the local Democratic clubs in the San Fernando Valley, and has said, hey, the clubs in this district are supporting this. So it helps for them to know that not even just constituents, but like other organizations in their district care about this issue. Similar with Assemblymember Schiavo, like letting her know that there are plenty of people in the district who are supporting this bill. And then for Assembly members Ash Kalra and Mia Bonta, they actually both happen to be co-authors of ACA 4. So we didn't need to like talk to them about ACA 4 and try and convince them. But the two of them are Assembly members who, again, IJ Action endorsed them in the endorsement process. So we wanted to reach out and say, hey, what are ways that we can collaborate and work together? Like, how could we, potentially support you? We ended up finding out that Assemblymember Bonta is working on a bill, AB 1186, I think, to allow restorative justice opportunities for youth. So, we were able to talk about that. In meeting with Senator Stern's office the other day, we found out that he's actually introducing an Senate constitutional amendment that will lower the voting age to 17. So we're like, great, you care about voting, we care about voting, like this is an issue that we can collaborate on. Funny story with Assemblymember Gabriel, actually, he ended up only giving us like 6 minutes in the meeting. He was super late, and then we ended up like having to jump off to another meeting. But even though he was late, I think Shervin and I like nailed it and said everything we needed to say in like 5.5 minutes. But because he felt bad about being late, he was like, well, let me know when you guys want to grab coffee. So, we have a promise of having another meeting with him. And that comes from like months, at this point, years of Shervin and I like both building a relationship with him as constituents, as individuals, but also as staff of Initiate Justice Action. So again, this is just the beginning for us. And these meetings have mostly just kind of been like meet and greets, building that relationship, talking about the issues that are important to us. But throughout the legislative process, we will continue to have more meetings specifically about ACA 4. So again, if you're not already a member, please become a member, because moving on in the process, that's why we're going to be training y'all at our training on Thursday. We want you all to also have the skills and ability to pick up the phone and set up a meeting with your legislator. We're going to be scheduling in-district visits for ACA 4. Y'all might remember on your membership application, we asked you who your senator and who your assembly member are, because we want to know if we got a problem with a senator or assembly member who won't want to vote yes, we'll be like, okay, boom, we got members in that district who can go set up a meeting with them and talk to them. Even if we don't have a problem with them, like, you know, like Assembly Member Gabriel and Senator Stern will probably vote yes, but we think that it's good that they know that there's people in their district who support these, so they feel more confident about their yes vote. So yeah, all that being said, like, this is what we've worked on so far. We've had all these meetings in the last maybe like 3-4 weeks, I think. We will be having more, but we also want to bring our membership into this process moving forward as well. So again, if you're not a member yet, please become a member. If you are a member, I really hope to see you at our co-governance training that we're going to have on Thursday. We can open it up for questions, but one other just quick plug that I want to add. Another reason it's important to have a relationship with your assembly members and your senators is not just to talk about legislation, but state senators and state assembly members can also do casework for you for state related issues. So what I mean by that is, if you're having an issue with a state agency, such as the DMV or the EDD or the Franchise Tax Board or something like that, you can contact your senator or assembly member and their staff will help you. I'll share an example of a friend recently who is formerly incarcerated, owed restitution, and the Franchise Tax Board, without warning, just took $18,000 out of his bank account one day. And I told him, I was like, yo, call your assembly member and tell them like what happened, because that's wrong and they shouldn't have done that. He called the assembly member. Within a week, the money was back in his bank account and he didn't even know what happened. Contacted the assembly member's office and ended up finding out that they took care of it. So, you know, build these relationships in order to, you know, be able to tell them like how you feel about policy and stuff like that. But remember that these folks serve you in more ways than just legislating. They're also supposed to be your representatives and your liaisons for state agencies as well. So again, if you want to learn more about that, come to the training. The training is going to be on Zoom. Yeah, so and we're going to send the information to people who are members.
Yeah, so Napoleon, you would definitely want to take a moment to fill out the membership application, and your membership application. Once I receive that application, I'll send you a follow-up email along with the steps to register for the training. I'm sorry, we lost you there for a second, Taina. Sherman, did you want to?
Yeah, just wanted to piggyback off of some of the comments from Taina that, you know, I know it can be super intimidating if you've never met with a legislator before, and where you're like, what do I say? You know, how do I reach out to them? Who do I email? You know, please, 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 if you have all those questions about like, what are the talking points? Who do I reach out to? How do I show up to the meeting? You know, how do I make the ask? How do I, whatever it is, our co-governance training on Thursday, we'll be talking about all those issues, and we'll have, like Taina said, some allies from within the legislature, one from the Senate side, one from the Assembly side. We'll be talking about, you know, what they see as some of the most effective ways of being an advocate, as an insider working for members. And so we'll have some amazing insights, some amazing discussions. So please, please, please make sure you turn it off for this training.
Yes, definitely. Co-governance is a thing. Some people believe that abolitionists should abstain from the political process, but we understand that we're affected by the political process, and there's a such thing as abolition in action. So if we're putting abolitionist candidates who are passing progressive policies and advocating for marginalized folks and abolishing marginalization, then that's abolition in action is definitely needed. So we ask that you please, take this call to be a part of this training and also organize with us, help us to develop bill ideas, help us to advocate, help us to grow, help us to gain more power, to bring resources back to communities, and just to be in space. And so with that, I guess we'll open the floor up for questions. If you have a question, I'm going to stop sharing, and you could react with your hand if you know how to do your hand reaction, or you could unmute and speak if no one has the floor. But before we jump into those questions, we're going to take a second to, I don't know if Taina wants to finish a thought. I know I froze up for a minute, but Shervin did jump in and offer some great follow-up context, but just in case you had a thought.
I don't know when it froze. I don't know the last thing y'all heard. I was still talking until my screen closed. So I'm sure that Shervin covered it, but thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, I know I've seen one in the chat, and that was where do we go to sign up for this training? Well, I dropped the link in the chat already, but you have to be a member to be eligible to attend this training. The training is free. There's no cover charge or anything else like that, but you have to be a member. And so I did drop the link in the chat to the membership application. You could fill it out. Once you fill it out, you'll get an email from me. You'll get a confirmation with next steps. And then we'll get you definitely to the training, as well as other committees and other things that the organization is taking part of. So just to answer that question. Does anybody else have any questions or any comments, any context, past experience with ledge visits, who has conducted a ledge visit before, who has not, who's interested in learning? I know we have some people who conducted ledge visits in here before. I see a lot of Institute graduates. Sophia, I'm start calling people's names out. Sophia, David, Dorothy. I see some names. I know Ruth has definitely conducted some ledge visits in the past. Irma, Neva. I see some names on here I know. But if yeah, so I have a question right here in the chat, and that question asks, is there a way we can get a hold of old training recordings for those who missed it? Yes, so our communications team is developing a process in which you'll be able to archive our recordings, and members will be able to access them via a shared drive or something like that. So if you would like to see, past the previous training, we have thought about that, and that will be available to members only. So we'll definitely get that out once that's available. Yeah, so if there is any more questions or comments, I see we have love ledge visits. Is there a formal meeting strategy? Yes, yes, definitely. So ledge visits are structured. There's a structure in which usually the ideal ledge visit probably has about 4 to 5 people attend. Everybody has a role. Everyone delivers a certain portion of the talking point script and facts and background behind the bill. And all that is definitely covered in our training. And we go over the effective ways to lobby for bills, as well as powerful ways to tell your story. So all of us have stories, all of us have things that we've been through in life. And when we tell us powerfully, as well as in concert, they usually have a good effect.
And I just want to add that for ACA 4, we do have an outreach/inreach committee that is going to be prioritizing, coordinating with individuals to get them to schedule visits specifically around ACA 4. So again, that'll be further along down the line as ACA 4 moves through the legislative process. But yes, if you're interested in having ledge visits specifically on supporting ACA 4, those opportunities will also be coming later on in the year, and you will get support and training specific for that. What is ACA 4? That's a great question. My apologies for not offering more background. So ACA 4 is an assembly constitutional amendment that IJ Action is co-sponsoring along with other organizations such as Initiate Justice, RC3, the ACLU, League of Women Voters, Anti-Recidivism Coalition, to name a few. And this initiative would place a ballot measure on the November 2024 ballot to restore voting rights to people in prison. So a couple years ago, we worked on ACA 6, which became Prop 17, and that restored voting rights to people on parole. But we always said that we were going to come back for people in prison as well. So if ACA 4 passes, it'll go to the ballot in 2024, and then we will effectively end felony disenfranchisement in California. We would become the third state to do that. Right now, only Maine and Vermont do that. We would become the most diverse, the most populous state to restore voting rights to everyone impacted by incarceration. So it's a big deal, super historic. We're hoping to be successful, but we know it's going to be a heavy lift for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a constitutional amendment, we need a 2/3 vote in the legislature. So yeah, we're going to need to do lots of work to shore up these yes votes over the next several months. But another thing that kind of complicates this process is constitutional amendments don't have to move through the legislature along the same timeline that bills do. So that means it can be heard in committee at any point. It can go to the floor at any point. We have between now and June of 2024 to get out of the Assembly and the Senate, which means we'll have to go to a policy committee, a fiscal committee, floor in the Assembly, then policy committee, fiscal committee, floor in the Senate between now and June, and anything can happen at any point. So basically our strategy at this point is stay ready so you don't have to get ready, because at any moment we might be like, hey, the bill's coming up for a vote in like a week. We need to do as many visits as possible. But yeah, that's ACA 4, and that's our big priority for this year.
Yeah, thank you for explaining and breaking down ACA 4. IJ was able to pass Prop 17, which restored the right to vote to more than 56,000 people on parole in California. And so as Taina mentioned, if ACA 4 passes and goes to the ballot and passes, the people vote for it, felony disenfranchisement in California is eliminated. And not only that, but we have an opportunity to do it on the 50th anniversary from the date that it started. So that would be just iconic in and of itself. It would be great to be able to end that form of oppression here in the state, and to be moving toward power building. So yeah. And if there's anyone has any last thoughts or anything that they like to say, they can do it now, unmute or ask any questions or any comments. And after that, I'll move toward the close and give you all your night back. I see some folks are typing, and it could be if you feel free to unmute. It could be words of encouragement, things about voting, about ledge visits, the organization, membership. How do you get in touch with me? So I'll drop my email in the chat. My email is fairly simple. It's j@IJAction. Feel free to email me with any questions about membership, any questions about the organization, organizing, anything like that. And I will be sure to get back to you. And also, if you need help with your application, getting through that process, walking through the process, any donation, anything that you're having a problem with or getting past, I'll be happy to walk you through it, as well as help you to schedule your orientation. So, Sophia?
I'd love to say something. One thing I love about IJ Action is that it provides so many resources all along the way. So if you're feeling like the people who shared about their legislative visit are maybe more seasoned than you are, that's exactly why the monthly member trainings that we have are so incredible. Why the benefits that we all get from being a member of IJ Action is so great, because we all enter here with a passion, with an interest, and the organization really helps provide the structure. So as long as that you have that or curiosity, or know other people that would, I really encourage you to fill out the brief application to be a member, which Jay has put in the chat, and come to these trainings. There's some really incredible guest speakers lined up, especially for this week. That was definitely my experience doing a legislative visit. I didn't know, I was really intimidated. I'm a naturally pretty shy person, and I still think of my legislator as this kind of celebrity. And I was given the training and the structure that I needed to know how to plug in, what my part was in the visit itself. And then I got in the visit, and it wasn't any of the hype that I thought. It was really just talking to another person who I have a shared interest in, because I either live in their constituent, I'm a constituent of theirs, or they're there to serve me. So I just, check out the links in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing feedback and context. I could definitely tell you that we all, started in a position where we didn't have experience, and we went through training and had the experience, went in. And one thing about IJ, if you haven't been in our circle, maybe I, kind of should have touched on this better. One thing about IJ Action, we'll always prepare you for anything that you've been asked to do. We'll provide you with equipment, training, resources to be able to accomplish it, as well as a direct pathway. So don't ever feel like you're going anything alone. Don't feel like you won't be prepared, and that you won't, have time to get in there, really be effective at what you're doing. And I've even had conservative staffers reach out to me from legislators that I've done, and told me that, they think a little bit differently about policy because of the stories that we told and the conversations we had. And that's powerful just to have that. So again, it's much needed, and you want to build that rapport, build that relationship. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and head into the close. Such a wonderful night of stories, as well as reflections on the legislative process, co-governance, and those different models. And so that being said, we would like to, again, take the opportunity to offer folks who have not filled out the membership application to please fill out the membership application and become a member of IJ Action. And also, with that, as we mentioned, our monthly member training on co-governance takes place this Thursday night, same time slot, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And you have to be a member in order to attend. And we're going to have two wonderful, powerful speakers who work in the campaign spaces. It would be great to have as many members as possible to attend, so that way you can gain that knowledge, gain that experience, and hear it from different perspectives, as well as folks who currently work in the field and who have been very successful at what they do, but also have an abolitionist lens and belief. So if folks could please tap in with this and be a part of this training, it would be great. If you're already a member, just click the link in RSVP. If you want to become a member, send me an email or fill out the application, and we'll walk you through the process to make sure that you're able to be there, and also too, just to be a part of all of the organizing that we'll be doing moving forward, and build ideas and everything else that's taking place here. So that's the call to action. And lastly, if anybody wants to take place in our Recruit 5 call to help us meet our membership goal, please be a part of that. Please feel free to share out membership application with folks and nominate them for membership. And we will be happy to invite folks into this flock and be a part of great things. that said, we're gonna wrap up the meeting and give everybody their night back a little bit early tonight.
Thank
Feel
you,
free.
everybody.
All right, Sammy, have a good
Hope
night.
to see you Thursday.